Hi everyone, this is Natasha Fernandes, and we are on video number 5 of Building Resilience Through Mindfulness. Throughout the earlier 4 videos, we have looked at different aspects of how to combat low mood, what mindfulness is, your mind-body connection, and what to do with emotional pain. So throughout all the 4 videos, we have had one common theme, which is that a wandering mind. So today, we will be talking on how to reduce the mind wandering and mind rumination. So let's jump back to the same study of Harvard, which I have mentioned in the previous video, where there were 5,000 people from 80 different countries, and they were put in an experiment and to check of how the mind responds to the thoughts. And that is when it was discovered that 47% of the times our mind is wandering. So now, is mind wandering a very bad thing? What exactly happens when your mind wanders? So, when you talk about mind wandering, it means that your mind cannot be still on one particular thought and it has difficulty in focusing on that particular thought to follow it through. At the same time, mind wandering also sometimes, or most of the times induces creativity. But the thing is that when you talk about happiness, happiness is supposed to be in the here and now. So when your mind wanders, it is reported that that person is less happy. So there were many kinds of experiments done on people and their thought and the ability to pay attention and conscious attention and a lot of things. So to combat mind wandering, I'm going to teach you something known as conscious attention, and even for a little bit, how you can use this concept of conscious attention and make the most of all of your, remaining time other than mind wandering. So there was another experiment that was done with hundreds of people. It was like the hundreds of people, one by one, were put in a room for 15 minutes, all by themselves alone. No gadgets, no material, no books, nothing. It was just them in the room. And they were supposed to be there in the room with their own thoughts. Most of them, like maximum number of those, the crowd who attended the experiment reported it to be an exercise that was boring and unpleasant. So the same group of experiment got together to just test of what intensity of boredom and unpleasantness did a person have when they were left with their own thoughts. So when that happened, the same group was called again. And this time it was different that they were given a painful electric shock before putting them in the room. Of course, they were not aware of that fact. And from there, a significant amount of people reported that they would even agree to pay money to not get that painful electric shock. Then the third phase of that same experiment was conducted, where there was one more addition to it. Of course, this time they weren't given the painful shock, but they had a memory of that, of how that felt. Okay, so the memory was enough to trigger a lot of thoughts and emotions. So this time, what they said was they put a bell in the room. Okay, that was like a button. You can push the button. But the instruction that was given to them was everything is the same. You're supposed to sit here for 15 minutes with your own self alone. And you have the option to press the button. But if you press the button, the consequences will be that you will be given the same painful electric shock. So the number of times you press the button, the number of times you will be given the electric shock. At the same time, pressing the button is not going to reduce the time duration. It is going to be exactly that same 15 minutes. So what was the observation after the entire exercise was that 25% of women and 66% of men pressed the button at least once, even though they knew clearly that they would be given the painful electric shock. And there were few who pressed it several times. There was even recorded that there was one person who pressed it 190 times. So now what could be the reason that someone is pressing the button knowing that the consequences is a painful electric shock? Could it be boredom? Could it be unhappiness? Could it be that a physical pain is much more easy to bear than a mental pain, than being with your own thoughts? So the thing is, it's also said that all the problems arise because the inability of the human being to be with themselves and to sit in one room. So if you find yourself so boring and if you find yourself so unpleasant, how are you going to even be motivated to do something in life for your own self? And mind wandering just worsens it. So as I said, what is the opposite of this? Okay, how do we cope up with this? How do we build resilience to mind wandering? We do it by conscious attention. So there are 60 million bits of thoughts that run through your mind every time. And each time we have 60 bits, like a bandwidth. You can take an example of an internet bandwidth. You have 60 bits each time to use for conscious attention. So now here, the aspect is that how good or how efficiently do you use this for your conscious attention? And the aspect is that if you multitask, or if you are doing distraction by multitasking, there are a lot of distractions now through social media. You wake up, you just scroll through your phone for no reason. You are just sitting and you don't want to have a conversation, you scroll through your phone. You're sitting in a cafe, you scroll through your phone. There's a meeting, you scroll through your phone. There are so many family members sitting and watching TV. Still, many of them are just scrolling through the phone. It's cumbersome to even hear it. So then this is a distraction that we have invented. Of course, there are good uses that you can put them into, unless you put them into. So let's talk about conscious attention. So when it's also said that when you have an excessive situation with mind wandering and you decide to multitask, you are leading through encouraging a very high impulsive and a behavior of low self-control. So how do we inculcate conscious attention? By mindfulness. As I said, by mindfulness, I'm not asking you to meditate. I'm asking you to be a human that is less as a product of the circumstances and more as a product of their choice. So when you start behaving less from your circumstance and more out of the choices that you have made, your mind wandering will reduce to a large extent, and you will be able to use your conscious attention, which will help you seek good information. It will help you sort the information in your head, and it will help you retain the information for your benefit. So let's do an exercise of mindfulness, which will encourage you for conscious attention. So as I have always said, the instruction, either you have a posture, either you sit down, sit on a recliner, or completely lie down with your eyes closed. So this is going to be a shorter but a very powerful exercise. Preferably, if you want to sit on a recliner is something that I would prefer. As you sit or as you get into your posture, I want you to close your eyes. And when you close your eyes gently, I want you to begin to focus on your breathing. Inhale and exhale. Inhaling, deep inhalation, and let go like a deep exhalation. One more deep breath. Inhale and exhale. And as we do this inhaling and exhaling, there are going to be thoughts which are going to wander. Your mind is going to wander. There might be distracting thoughts. Just pay attention to what it is and let it go. Come back to your breathing. Inhale and exhale. You can switch to normal breathing now. And as you breathe, and if you have a thought that is wandering, that is bothering, just attach the thought to your breathing. And every time you have a thought that is wandering or distracting, bring yourself back to focus on your breathing. Just observe how the air enters your nasal cavity into your lungs and out through your nose. And breathe in and breathe out. And as you breathe in and breathe out, there are a lot of functions that are happening inside of your body. Breathing in with a lot of oxygen pumping into the lungs. Breathing out, we throw out carbon dioxide. Breathe in a relaxed manner and breathe out. We breathe in and we breathe out. And now as we breathe in, just observe the air touching the borders of your lungs, touching the field of your lungs. And we breathe out. And again we breathe in, increasing our attention of how we breathe in, observing how our breath enters our lungs and how we breathe out. And now when we breathe in, just focus on your breath and you breathe out. You may feel like you're drifting away to sleep. Still, bring attention to your breathing and breathing out. And imagine as you breathe in, your lungs, which is folded inside your thoracic cavity, when spread out, can be as big as half of the tennis court. And we breathe out. And we breathe in again of that same oxygenated air that is so refreshing inside of your body. And this oxygenated blood enters your blood vessels. This oxygenated air, as it's entering your blood vessels, the lungs doing its work, entering the heart, entering the blood vessels, the capillaries. And if you happen to straighten the blood vessel just like a string, you will have 60,000 miles of a single string, and that can wrap around the earth 2.5 times. And you breathe out. And we breathe in again, where there are 37 trillion cells doing its job and getting the nourishment when you breathe in. And when you breathe out, they let go all that is not required. How easy it is to let go all that is not required. And you breathe in and you breathe out. And once again, breathe in and breathe out. Do this for a few cycles if you wish to. You can pause the video and keep breathing in, increasing your attention and breathing out. And once you feel you're done, or if you're done now with me, slowly wiggle your toes and your fingers. Bring your attention back to your body, back to your breath, and gently open your eyes and have a sip of water. And I know that on purpose, I had induced a lot of information about the body to everyone in general who's watching this video. Some of you may not be used to the science and the miracle that our body is. And just now you notice how much of that information are you able to retain when we were practicing conscious attention through breathing and mindfulness. And I will see you in the next video with more information and activity.
Help Talks are daily health-related talks held at Health Education Library for People, Mumbai, India. For more information visit www.healthlibrary.com. Subscribe to Help Talks channel. Be better informed about your health.